this.
Aisha, so thank you so much for taking the time out today to provide your perspectives on executive presence. I provided a list of questions in advance. We discussed it a little bit, so just let's launch right into it. As I mentioned, if you wouldn't mind just taking a minute to just share who you are and what you do in the world.
I'll try my best to summarize it in a minute. My name is Aisyah, and I know Tracy from being a hydro athlete. We call ourselves athletes, but in reality, we are fitness instructors. Other than that, I do carry many roles as well. I'm also a rowing coach, and I have done a few motivational gigs, I guess. But I would consider myself a professional storyteller. I think it revolves around me telling stories and sharing my stories and experiences to people. Other than that, I also own a business to help athletes with their mental skills. And I am also an athlete, so actually currently training for the Olympic Games.
Oh yeah, that thing. And you're actually training, you actually are going. You've passed all of the qualifications. You're going to be in Paris in a month, right?
That's right. That's right. As we're speaking now, it's exactly a month till the opening ceremony.
Excellent. Okay. All right. Well, thank you for sharing all of that. I reached out to you to ask you to participate in this discussion because I had a view. Well, I've seen you many times, and I had a view that executive presence was important in a number of the different roles that you play. And you seem to agree pretty quickly. So, well, and I guess I'm going to ask you a question that I didn't ask you before. In your view, what is executive presence?
Tracy, to be honest with you, I was surprised that you asked me to share about my executive presence because I'm not sure if I do have any, but I do know that with my roles, I need to have a presence, especially in front of a camera. If I am not speaking properly or if I'm not motivating or captivating, people will not click on me as an athlete and work out with me. And in my other roles, being a coach, I need to have some form of leadership. In being a motivational speaker, I need to be able to present my ideas to people in the most impactful way. So I feel like executive presence for me is having an ability to not really stand out, but to capture people's attention without being too overwhelming. And for me, in my roles, I try to balance it out to have a presence, but also giving the people that I'm talking to or working with an opportunity to know that they are also present in the room as well.
Okay. So when you try and convey your own executive presence, what are some of the traits that you try or behaviors or habits or practices that you try and project to convey an aura of executive presence?
So I used to, I guess I used to not be able to control the speed of how fast I speak especially when I get very nervous, I will just speed through what I have to say. So currently, if I am feeling nervous, like right now, I slow myself down. And sometimes even before being in the presence of audience, I will take deep breaths. So as an athlete, I have practiced meditation, different kind of meditation, not necessarily, sit down, close your eyes and meditate, but more of like being in that moment and just taking deep breaths. So like I do something called the box breathing, which is 4 deep breaths, 4 counts of breathing in, hold it for 4 and out for 4. So something as simple as that really calms my nerves and I guess gives me the ability to just do what I want to do without that anxiety just taking over.
Just out of curiosity, are the techniques that you use to be able to be calm and present in being an instructor with many, many people watching you or giving an interview, are they the same practices that you might use to try and maintain your calm and your confidence before a race? Or are they different?
Ooh, very good question. I believe they are similar,
Hmm.
right? Because both do involve performance. I mean, very different kind of performances. But both are very highly or heavily influenced by your anxiety level. For athletic performance, you need to have a certain level of arousal level to perform. You can't be low on
Hmm.
that arousal level
Hmm.
because that might not allow you to reach that flow state. And I think it's similar to talking to an audience. You can't be like feeling low on the arousal level because otherwise you won't be motivating. You will sound very boring, but you can't be too anxious as well or too highly aroused because that might impact how you deliver your speech. So I think they do draw some similarities.
Oh. Uh, when you talk about what you did, you described a couple of things that are part of your executive presence recipe. So one of the things you talked about was being a storyteller. The
Mm.
other thing you talked about was trying to help people in the room feel like they're part of your presence, that you, I guess, listen to them and pay attention, try and connect with them. And also you reference trying to modulate your speech. So you're not speaking too fast, you're not trying to speak too slowly.
Mhm.
Are there any other things that you do that you think about that recipe that allows you to come across the way you want to come across?
It's funny when you're listing all those things down, it sounds like you're doing a lot of things.
Yeah. Well,
Just
it's
to
like
be
rowing, right? Like, hey, there's
that
just
is
so many
true.
moving parts.
Exactly. For me, I feel like it's important to be authentically you.
Hmm.
And I think my strength is to be myself. I feel like if I hone in on that skill, it's very easy for me to be myself because I don't have to think about being another person because that might just add another layer of anxiousness into the whole level of like delivering my message. So for me, going into a room or starting a workout or even like starting training or filming and knowing that, I am there for a purpose and that is why people hire me or I'm there to lead a workout because people believe in me. So just having that mindset, like I'm going in and delivering what my strengths are makes me feel like, okay, I've got this. It kind of like gives me a boost of confidence.
Interesting. I'm going to return to the first question. So that's going to do it. The first question was, and I'll ask it again in just a second.
Yeah.
That first question was, who are you and what do you do? You introduce yourself. You made it Olympic athlete the fifth thing. I wonder if you wouldn't mind making it the first thing. And and then perhaps making the hydro public instructor the second thing, and the mental coach the third thing, simply because it seems like it shouldn't just kind of go, oh yeah, this thing. Is that right?
Honestly, I have been working on that. I know when I was doing my master's program here in Springfield College in Massachusetts, um, my friends, my classmates only found out that I was an
Uh-huh.
Olympian a month into the program.
Yeah.
And my husband said that I need to play the Olympics card more. And
No.
I But you're right. It should be the first thing. But for me, I feel like coming from an Asian background,
Yeah.
my family is more traditional, more conservative, and being in or living in the US is definitely two different cultures. Everyone in America is more about, look at me.
Yeah.
I need to stand out. But being an Asian, I feel that it's more of like you can take you can take the lead. Like I'll just sit here and I'll wait till it's my turn. But being in the US made me realize that if you continue to be in that position, people will not want to hear what your story is.
Yeah. Well, you
So
know what? So we might keep this part of the interview.
I'm
And this is part of executive presence and getting comfortable with executive presence.
yeah,
Right.
no, I'm definitely working on it. So yeah, it's a good
Well,
point.
well, and I mentioned that there's people of all cultures in my class,
Mm,
and men and women,
mm-hmm,
and the topic of being comfortable, tooting your own horn comes up regularly. The topic of, oh, you Americans are just so comfortable with blabbering about your accomplishments or whatever. That is not something that's natural. Uh,
mm.
and so, what advice, if any, do you provide people who are from different cultures to stand out in the US, or people who are perhaps women who are challenged?
Yeah, I would say one of the worst advice I've gotten is, when I say being authentically you, um, the worst advice I got before was continue to do you. You do you.
Yeah.
Um, I'm being ironic here, but listen up.
Mhm.
It's because if I continue to be who I am, the shy, quiet girl who moved from Singapore to the US, I wouldn't be able to stand out. I wouldn't be able to have like a commanding presence when I lead workouts or when I stand in front of an audience. So for me, it's always about continuing to be me, who I am as a person, but also wanting to improve, to be better,
Yeah.
to grow, to develop, to evolve into something that's, especially in this line of industry where I have to have commanding presence or executive presence. So for me, but it doesn't have to change who I am as a person. I am still, I mean, like we just mentioned, like I still need to work on it. Um, but being authentically me means that my stories don't change. I still have stories to tell. The way I deliver my stories doesn't change, but it's more of like,
Your values don't change. Right?
that's
Mhm.
it, value. My core values don't change. It's just how I present myself.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Uh, there is an article that I'm going to send to you called The Authenticity Paradox.
Ooh.
And it is, I've been in this coaching business for 7 or 8 years, and it is like the best article that I've come across. And I actually have everybody in the class that just starting this week. It's the first thing they're reading. I've already sent it to them, and it's
Mhm.
about um, the importance of seeing yourself as a work in progress, and that sometimes we can hang on to authenticity like it can be a crutch. That's not me. Well, that's not you today, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't try to improve yourself in certain ways. It doesn't mean, as you say, you have to change your values or your core personal opinions and things like that. I think you'll find it a worthwhile article to read. I'll send it to you.
Yeah, I think I would like
Yes.
appreciate that. Yeah.
And I appreciate you sharing that. Um, and the next time you talk to somebody, the Olympian needs to be first. Maybe
You
second.
but it is very present in my social media. Anything
Oh,
online, that's the
yeah,
first thing you see. But when I talk to people, it's very
yeah,
different.
yeah. And you're right. It's also important to know what's the setting, what's the context.
Yeah, because I don't want, I guess it's not me defending myself out here, but it's more of like, because when other people, and that's the first thing that I learn about them, I will have like judgments about them. Like,
Mhm.
oh, wait, he's an Olympian. I should be act a little whoa, wow. You know?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
And I don't want people to have that impression. I want people to
Oh.
know me first and then be like, oh, wow. You
Uh-huh.
get what I mean?
Uh-huh. Yeah. But
Yeah.
it's funny that you usually go, look, that's an Olympian. Wow. And then you like a few seconds go by and then you go, wait a minute, I'm an Olympian. All right, let me, I want to be respectful of your time. Um, are there, well, what kind of advice do either fellow Olympians and or fellow hydro athletes share in terms of working on your presence?
I think I am lucky in the sense that all my workouts are filmed. Because I think it's important to watch yourself,
Hmm.
did a workout or give a speech. It was very cringy at
Uh-huh.
first.
Yeah.
I've learned to be open about it. I've learned to watch through a whole workout that I lead, and not be very critical, because that will not be good for mental health.
Yeah.
More of coming in with a mindset that I'm here to learn. There are strengths that I possess and I have seen in this video, but also there are a few things that I need to work on. And I am a big believer in asking questions and asking for advice. So sometimes I will share this video with another athlete or a lead athlete or a producer and be like, um, uh, I said this. Do you actually get what I said? How can I be better at it? Especially as a hydro athlete, when I'm leading workouts, I cannot see what the audience are thinking, their facial expressions or their like body language. So it's very hard for me to adjust according to that. But yeah, so I ask questions to people who actually see me doing it.
Uh, Doing a video and then watching themselves is the first piece of homework.
Ooh, it's very hard.
Yeah. There's actually an AI tool that where you can it will record you and then give you immediate feedback on your eye contact, etc. I'll send you that link as well.
Yeah. Do they rate you like out of 10?
Uh, they say you could do you're strong or you could use some work.
Yeah,
Yeah.
interesting.
And it's really brief. Uh, have you noticed over the course of your mini filmings any changes in how you present yourself?
I think there has been changes in terms of the speed of how fast I talk. When I first started, I zoomed through what I have to say, and it doesn't allow people to take in or absorb that information. It was more just
Yeah.
like a passing remark. And I feel like one of the biggest things I've learned, not only as a hydro athlete, but also as like a mental skills coach, is giving time for people to think. Especially when you pose a question, um like giving like maybe 4 to 5 seconds of just quietness and being okay with sitting in the quiet. It's especially if you're in front of an audience, it's very hard to do that. It's very awkward, but I think it's important to pause. And that's one of the things that I've learned. And when I do someone's workout as well, giving that space to just be quiet is very valuable, I feel.
So when you're talking about being quiet, does that mean being quiet yourself or or help me understand when you're talking about being quiet?
Especially after I pose a question or I say something like deserves a mic drop, I will be like quiet. Like I don't say anything for the next few seconds instead of like jumping into something straight, so
Got
the
it.
person can actually absorb that information.
Got it. Got it. Okay. The last couple of questions. Is there any particular instruction or training that Olympic officials or your country Olympic committee or Hydro itself has provided? Any kind of-
Yeah, as an athlete, we have to go through media training.
Hmm.
Um, which is a little bit the same story as like, being you, but also knowing that you have to have a media presence and also watching your language and your
Hmm.
specific language that you have to use and not use or avoid. And in terms of hydro, they do send us for classes. One of the classes that I find very valuable is actually an improv class, because
Oh,
that
really?
really challenges you, and I love it. I find that uh, you have, I mean, I'm not naturally witty, but through those improv classes, it really challenges you to be like think on the spot, to know how to respond, especially because on the workouts that we do, sometimes we sit in a doubles boat where you're rowing with someone else, and when someone says something, you have to have a response.
Mhm.
Otherwise, it'll be very awkward. So improv classes help me expand my vocabulary in terms of like, how do I respond to this person without repeating myself over and over again? So I find that really helpful.
Makes me think, should I introduce improv into my class somehow?
Yeah, no, I hated it, but
But it was
because it's
really helpful nonetheless.
very uncomfortable. But thinking about it, it was, yeah, very helpful.
Yeah, okay. Last question. And I think you perhaps have already covered this ground. Is there any advice that you would give to someone who is, let's say, they're the new hydro athlete showing up, or all of a sudden this new star that appears and is getting a bunch of press coverage? Any advice that you would give them?
I think one of the things that helped me in this whole journey of carrying all these roles that I have is understanding the audience. So I can tell one story in many different ways, depending on who I'm telling that story to. Like when I used to do motivational engagements, it's the same story, but how I deliver it to a high school student and to professionals are two very different ways, but it's essentially the same thing that I'm talking about. And I think doing a lot of research on the audience that I'm speaking to, what they hope to get out of the time that they're spending with me has been very helpful in me creating that whole storytelling process so that they are not wasting their time being there.
That's really interesting. So can you provide an example of like, here's the same story, but here's how I changed it for this audience versus that audience?
Yeah, one of the engagement that I used to do back in Singapore, let's say two. One is for high school students and
Mhm.
high school students who want to be inspired to be an athlete, but also they have education to think about. So helping them understand that, you can do both. Just have to be better at time management, and, talking about skills that you can develop as an athlete that can be translated as a student. And the same story, being an athlete and being an Olympian. And when I was studying, I was also juggling between sports and academics. And if I were to deliver that same message to a group of, I did a speaking engagement with a group of women in Malaysia, and they were there as moms, as sisters, as like friends, and more of like how are you going to support your daughter if they want to be both an athlete and also a student? How can you be a more supportive friend? And I share my experiences as a daughter whose mom was very supportive of my rowing career. So same story, but different perspectives in looking at it.
It's a really good way to, I understand how you took different perspectives on it, and that's a really helpful way to understand it. Okay, the most important question.
Oh.
How can I row faster in my single?
More time on your single, Tracy.
Work harder, row faster. That's
There's
basically.
no shortcut around it, but not too much because you might break a rib. So
Oh yeah. All right. There's this has been really interesting and helpful, and I appreciated both the experiences and the challenges. Is there anything else that I should have asked you?
no, I think that should be all. You covered pretty much everything. Yeah, I'm truly honored to be here. Especially this term,
Me
executive.
too.
Never heard of this term before. So it may be,
Oh,
yeah, especially now that I am going to the Olympics and I'm talking to a lot of media,
mhm.
and I'm telling the same story over and over again. So
Yes.
having this conversation with you and preparing for this conversation made me think like of different ways, not different ways of changing the story, but how to make it more captivating because
Mm.
you want people to listen to your story. Otherwise, there's no point I'm doing the interview. And I find myself being very repetitive. So I'm always looking for ways to be like, okay, how do I say this to this journalist so that they can capture what I'm trying to say instead of just like telling a story? And I
Yeah.
find that a lot of journalists don't make the effort to make the story exciting. They just kind of like write down what you give to them. Uh,
Uh-huh.
and then I
So that
feel like
means
it's
you need to
dull.
do the work too.
Exactly.
Yeah. Huh. Well, actually, on this whole topic, as you might imagine, I've got lots of resources, lots of
Mm,
resources. And actually, I didn't even ask you about some of them. Um, resources regarding speaking, resources regarding body language, resources regarding influencing. So if there's any topic under the general umbrella of this executive presence thing, whatever it is, um, let me know, and I probably have something on it.
yeah, no, I would love that. Yeah.
On that topic, by the way, there is this book called Executive Presence. Whatever it is, it's called Executive Presence.
Is it censored?
No, it really says it.
Oh, there you go. Okay, I see.
And whatever it's there. Um, and but and it's a and how they define executive presence, just FYI, is how you appear, and both from a dress perspective as well as a body language perspective, as well as a perspective of eye contact, and are you jerky, are you calm, communications, and gravitas, where
Mm,
gravitas is defined as uh, are you someone who conveys who has deep knowledge? Are you someone who uh, is conveying confidence? Are you someone who's trustworthy? Are you someone that uh, people want to follow? And it's those three ingredients that they call out. So it's just interesting at the end of this conversation to say, here's what some experts that say the recipe is.
I mean, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I will give you the rest of your day. Thank you so much for spending so much time. I will send you the video, the transcript, the AI summary. I will, as I say, slice it up, and I'll send you those slices as well, rather, to show you how it will be presented. Okay.
Okay. Yeah,
If
no, it sounds good.
I really appreciate if I can answer any questions or thoughts or concerns or suggestions, or I can help you. Please let me know.
Yeah, do send along the article on that authenticity.
I will send that right now. I
Yeah, I
think,
would love to give that a read.
yeah, I'll send it right
It's
now.
something that I was actually struggling with
Hmm,
moving to the US and working with Hydro because Hydro is all about being authentic.
hmm.
Um, but if I'm super authentic, I don't know if people are gonna like it.
Yeah, yeah, and that's really what it's all about is, you know what? Um, don't try and be, don't hang on to the old self if the old self is actually not serving you.
Yeah. And I'm also, I guess, along the same line of authenticity, it's more of like, um, let's say recently I was being authentic and talking about Pride Month, but that also means losing followers.
Yeah,
So I'm like juggling between this or that.
yeah,
So,
yeah, that's actually really interesting. And I know that Hydro is, as a company, is supportive of Pride Month.
yes, but
Uh,
not a lot of members are. So
Yeah, no, I've seen miscellaneous comments about, yeah, you can go ahead and lose money, Hydro. Which makes
yeah,
them, it's a courageous company to go out and, to do that. And that's, something to be proud of.
mm,
Uh, last comment, even though I keep saying last comment, but, as I say, Thursday night, I'm starting this class. Thursday night is also the night of the first presidential debates.
oof.
And if you think about, when you think about these two characters, and and they're going to be evaluated on their executive presence,
Mhm.
right? And both of them struggle with that.
Oh, yes.
Right? Uh,
But they're captivating. They're entertaining, I would say.
they
Entertaining.
are, they are, they're in sort of a horrifying way. It's like a car crash of entertainment, right? And it's just sort of interesting to kind of go, hey, you know what? The leader of the free world, we're going to have an executive presence contest tonight. So it's kind of a good way to get into the class.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I'll let you go. Thank you very much. Really appreciate it.
Nice
Watch
talking
your
to
email,
you today.
and really nice to talk to you as well.
All right,
Take
have a good night.
you as well, or morning or day or whatever it is. See you.
See you.